In December 1953, the heads of the 6 major American cigarette manufacturers met at the Plaza Hotel in New York. The meeting had been convened by John Hill, founder of the public relations firm Hill and Knowlton. The subject, a December 1953 Reader's Digest article summarizing research linking cigarette smoking to lung cancer. What the industry decided at the Plaza Hotel that day. How to respond, what to say, and above all, what never to say publicly about what their own research had already found, remained a corporate secret for 40 years. When the internal documents finally came out in the mid-1990s, they showed that the industry had known what it was selling, had known what it was doing to the people who bought it, and had chosen profit over disclosure for 4 decades.
The strategy formulated at the Plaza Hotel in 1953 was not denial. It was manufactured doubt. Instead of arguing that cigarettes were safe, the industry would argue that the science was uncertain, that more research was needed, that no definitive causal link had been established. This was not ignorance. It was a deliberate communication strategy designed to create the appearance of scientific controversy where the internal research had already reached conclusions the industry found inconvenient.
Brown Williamson was one of the 6 manufacturers at the Plaza Hotel. Beginning in the late 1980s, a paralegal named Merrell Williams worked for a law firm contracted to review and organize B&W's internal documents in connection with ongoing litigation. Over 3 years, Williams secretly copied thousands of pages and smuggled them out in a leg cast. He had had knee surgery and realized the cast provided cover. In 1994, he gave the documents to a Kentucky attorney who provided them to the FDA and to the Mississippi Attorney General. The documents reached the New York Times and 60 Minutes.
What the Brown Williamson documents showed was specific and damning. Internal research from the 1950s and 1960s had found a direct relationship between smoking and cancer. Legal memos from the 1960s explicitly discussed the cancer evidence and advised against publishing internal research that could be used in litigation. A 1969 memo from Brown and Williamson's parent company, British American Tobacco, stated, "Doubt is our product since it is the best means of competing with the body of fact that exists in the minds of the general public." The strategy of manufactured doubt had been explicit, documented, and sustained for decades.
The second major source of documents came from an industry insider. Jeffrey Wigand had been vice president of research at Brown and Williamson. He was fired in 1993 after raising concerns internally about the company's research suppression practices. In 1996, he gave an interview to 60 Minutes that Brown and Williamson attempted to block through legal threats to CBS. The interview was eventually broadcast. Wigand testified before the Mississippi Attorney General that B&W had deliberately suppressed research on the health effects of smoking and had manipulated nicotine levels to maintain addictive properties. His testimony became central to the state litigation.
By the mid-1990s, 40 state attorneys general had filed suits against the tobacco industry seeking reimbursement for Medicaid costs associated with smoking-related illness. The suits were supported by the internal documents that had leaked. The tobacco industry settled in 1998 through the Master Settlement Agreement, the largest civil litigation settlement in American history. The 6 manufacturers agreed to pay $206 billion over 25 years to fund anti-smoking advertising through the American Legacy Foundation, to restrict marketing to minors, and to open their internal research archives through the Truth Tobacco Industry Documents database.
The Truth Tobacco Industry Documents database now contains over 14 million documents available publicly at the University of California, San Francisco Library. Researchers have used them to trace the tobacco industry's playbook, manufactured doubt, manufactured controversy, suppression of internal research, strategic use of industry-funded scientists, and have documented how the same strategies were later deployed by other industries facing inconvenient scientific evidence: fossil fuels, sugar, pharmaceuticals. The Plaza Hotel meeting in 1953 was not just a tobacco decision. It was a template.
What the tobacco documents established was that corporate knowledge of a product's harm can coexist with public denial for decades, with active internal documentation of the decision to deceive, without criminal prosecution of the individuals who made that decision. The $206 billion settlement sounded enormous. Distributed across the 6 manufacturers over 25 years, it was roughly equivalent to 1% of tobacco industry revenue over that period. The manufacturers continued selling cigarettes. The documents are public. The template they described is still in use. Subscribe. Next video, the pharmaceutical company that suppressed its own clinical trial data and sold the drug for 2 decades.